All right, good morning. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. If you're new to the channel or to this series, I'm calling it the Snowball Bible Reading Plan. It's where we work our way through the Bible, starting with the smallest books, working our way all the way up to the largest books. Today we're reading in the book of Daniel, which I'm reading out of the Scriptures. It's called The Scriptures, and I'm on page 583. Real quick before we get started, if you will make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you want to see more videos like this, that'd be really helpful to us. We're trying to reach as many people as possible. When you like, share, and subscribe, it lets the algorithm know that this channel is worth watching and these videos will therefore get out to more people. So I appreciate you doing that. And without further ado, let's get into this. Daniel chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And Yahweh gave Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, into his hands, with some of the utensils of the house of Elohim, which he brought from the land of Shinar to the house of his mighty ones. And he brought the utensils into the treasure house of his mighty one. And the sovereign said to Ashpenaz, the chief of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel, and some of the sovereign's decadents, and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, having insight in all wisdom, having knowledge and understanding, learning, capable to stand in the sovereign's palace, and to teach them the writing and speech of the Chasdim. And the sovereign appointed for them a daily ration of the sovereign's food, and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end thereof they should stand before the sovereign. Now among them were the sons of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names, for he called Daniel Belshazzar, and Hananiah Shadrach, and Mishael Meshach, and Azariah Abednego. And Daniel laid it upon his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the sovereign's food, nor with the wine which he drank. So he asked permission from the chief of the eunuchs not to defile himself. And Elohim granted Daniel loving commitment and compassion from the chief of the eunuchs. But the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my master, the sovereign, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? And you would make my head guilty before the sovereign. And Daniel said to the overseer, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Please, try our servants for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearances be examined before you, and the appearances of the young men who eat the portion of the sovereign's food. And do with your servants as you see fit. And he listened to them in this matter and tried them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their appearances looked better and fatter in flesh than the young men who ate the portion of the sovereign's food. And it came to be that the overseer took away their portion of food and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 young men, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. And at the end of the days, when the sovereign had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the sovereign spoke with them, and none among them all were found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they stood before the sovereign. And in any word of wisdom and understanding about which the sovereign examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians, the astrologers who were in all his reign. Almost there. And Daniel continued until the 1st year of sovereign Koresh. Chapter 2. And the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. And the sovereign gave orders to call the magicians and the astrologers and the practicers of witchcraft and the Chazdim to declare to the sovereign his dreams. So they came and stood before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to them, I have had a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. And the Chazdim spoke to the sovereign in Aramaic, O sovereign, live forever. Relate the dream to your servant, and we shall reveal the interpretation. The sovereign answered and said to the Chazdim, My decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream and its interpretation to me, your limbs shall be taken from you, and your houses made dunghills. But if you reveal the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive gifts and rewards, and great esteem from me. So reveal to me the dream and its interpretation. They answered again and said, Let the sovereign relate to his servants the dream, and we shall reveal its interpretation. The sovereign answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time, because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you. For you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time has changed. So relate the dream to me, then I shall know that you shall reveal its interpretation for me. The Chazdim answered the sovereign and said, There is no one on earth who is able to reveal the matter of the sovereign, because no sovereign, master, or ruler has ever asked a matter like this of any magician or astrologer or Chazdim. And the matter that the sovereign is asking is difficult, and there is no other who is able to reveal it to the sovereign except with Elohim, whose dwelling is not with flesh. Because of this, the sovereign was enraged and very wroth, and gave orders to destroy all the wise ones of Babel. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise ones, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Then with counsel and wisdom Daniel answered Arioch, the chief of the sovereign's guards, who had gone out to kill the wise ones of Babel. He answered and said to Arioch, the sovereign's officer, Why is the decree from the sovereign so urgent? So Arioch made the decision known to Daniel, and Daniel went in and asked the sovereign to give him time, and he would show the sovereign the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, to seek compassion from the Allah of the heavens concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his companions should not perish with the rest of the wise ones of Babel. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision, and Daniel blessed the Elah of the heavens. Daniel responded and said, Blessed be the name of Elah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changed the times and the seasons. He removes sovereigns and raises up sovereigns. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who possess understanding. He reveals deep and secret matters. He knows what is in darkness. It's just my bookmark. He knows what is in darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O Elah of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and have made known to me what we asked of you. For you have made known to us the sovereign's matter. So Daniel went to Arioch, whom the sovereign had appointed to destroy the wise ones of Babel. He went and said this to him, Do not destroy the wise ones of Babel. Bring me in before the sovereign, and I shall show the interpretation to the sovereign. Then Arioch brought Daniel in a hurry before the sovereign, and said thus to him, I have found a man among the sons of the exile of Yehuda, who does make known the sovereign and interpretation. The sovereign answered and said to Daniel, Whose name was Nebuchadnezzar? Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen, and its interpretation?" Daniel answered before the sovereign and said, "The secret which the sovereign is asking, the wise ones, the astrologers, the magicians, and the diviners are unable to show it to the sovereign. But there is an Elah in the heavens who reveals secrets, and he has made known to sovereign Nebuchadnezzar what is to be in the latter days. Your dream and the vision of your head is upon your bed, your dream and the vision of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, O sovereign, on your bed your thoughts came up. What is going to take place after this? And he who reveals secrets has made known to you what shall be after this. As for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom. This secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sake, who make known the interpretation to the sovereign, and that you should know the thoughts of your heart. You, O sovereign, were looking on and saw a great image. This great image and its brightness excellent was standing before you, and its form was awesome. This image's head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You were looking on until a stone was cut out without hands, and it smote the image on its feet of iron and clay, and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together, and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. And the wind took them away, so that no trace of them was found. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled all the earth. This is the dream and its interpretation we declare before you, the sovereign. You, O sovereign, are a sovereign of sovereigns. For the Elah of heavens has given you a reign, power and strength and preciousness. And wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens, he has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. And after you rises up another reign lower than yours, and another third reign of bronze that rules over all the earth. And the fourth reign is as strong as iron, because iron crushes and shatters all. So, like iron that breaks in pieces, it crushes and breaks all these. Yet, as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the reign is to be divided, but some of the strength of the iron is to be in it, because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the reign is partly strong and partly brittle. And as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they are mixing themselves with the seed of men, but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these sovereigns, the Elah of the heavens shall set up a reign which shall never be destroyed, nor the reign pass on to other people. It crushes and puts to end all these reigns, and it shall stand forever. Because you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elah has made known to the sovereign what shall be after this, and the dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy. The sovereign Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and did obeisance before Daniel, and gave orders to present to him an offering and incense. The sovereign answered Daniel and said, "Truly your Elah is the Elah of Elohim, our master of sovereigns, and the master of sovereigns, and the revealer of secrets. Since you were able to reveal this secret." Then the sovereign made Daniel great, and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over all the province of Babel, and chief of the nobles over all the wise ones of Babel. And Daniel asked of the sovereign, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the work of the province of Babel, and Daniel in the gate of the sovereign. Real quick, I think it's interesting that before all this took place, they had made a stand to not eat what was defiled and to not take the government cheese, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So, and then this all took place. Now I'll just keep going. Chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign, made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babel. And sovereign Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the viceroys, the nobles and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, the counselors and the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Did I just read that? Anyways. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald loudly proclaimed, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that as soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, you shall fall down to do obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire." So as soon as all the people heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, and all kinds of instruments, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and did obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Thereupon, at that time, certain Chazdim came forward and accused the Yehudim. They spoke and said to the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, "O sovereign, live forever. You, O sovereign, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments shall fall down and do obeisance to the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. There are certain Yehudim whom you have set over the work of the province of Babel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O sovereign, pay no heed to you. They do not serve your Elohim, and they are not doing obeisance to the gold image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and wrath, gave orders to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the sovereign. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my Elohim, and do not do obeisance to the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready when you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, and you fall down and do obeisance to the image which I have made, good. But if you do not do obeisance, you are immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. And who is the Elah who does deliver you from my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the sovereign, I love this, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. For if so, the Elah whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning furnace of fire from your hands. O sovereign, he does deliver. But if not, let it be known to you, O sovereign, that we do not serve your Elohim, nor do we do obeisance to the gold image which you have set up." I love that. He's like, even if he didn't save me from this fire, I still wouldn't bow down to you. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with the wrath, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He responded and gave orders that they heat the furnace 7 times more than was usual to heat it. And he commanded some of the strongest men of the army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the burning furnace of fire. So these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, and their turbans, and their other garments, and were thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Thereupon, because the sovereign's order was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Then sovereign Nebuchadnezzar was amazed, and stood up in haste, and spoke, and said to his counselors, Did we not throw 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the sovereign, Certainly, O sovereign. He answered and said, Look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the son of Elohim. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace of fire. He spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High Elah, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire, and the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, and the sovereigns. My phone's about to die. And the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, and the sovereign's counselors gathered together, seeing these men on whose bodies the fire had no power, and the hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments changed, nor did the smell of fire come on them. Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, Blessed be the Elah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his messenger and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and changed the sovereign's order and gave up their bodies, that they should not serve nor do obeisance in any Elah except their own Elah. Therefore I make a decree that whoever of any people, nation, or language who speaks any wrong against the Elah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his limbs shall be taken, and his house made a dunghill, because there is no other Elah who is able to deliver like this. Then the sovereign promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babel. Okay, my phone's dying. I love this story. Gotta sign off right here, you guys. We're gonna pick up in chapter 4 in the next video. Okay, so picking up in chapter number 4. Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign to all the people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. Peace be increased to you. I thought it good to declare the signs and wonders which the Most High Elah has worked for me. How great are his signs, and how mighty his wonders. His reign is an everlasting reign, and his rulership is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house, and prospering in my palace. I saw a dream, and it frightened me, and the thoughts on my bed and the visions of my head alarmed me. So I issued a decree to bring in all the wise ones of Babel before me, to make known to me the interpretation of the dream. So the magicians, the astrologers, the Chazdim, the diviners came in, and I related the dream to them, but its interpretation they did not make known to me. And at last Daniel, whose name is Belshazzar, according to the name of my Elah, came before me. In him is the spirit of the set-apart Elohim. So I related the dream to him, saying, Belshazzar, chief of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the set-apart Elohim is in you. And no secret is too difficult for you. Explain to me the visions of my dream that I have seen and its interpretation. Now the visions of my head on my bed were these. I looked and saw a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height great. And the tree became great and strong, and its height reached to the heavens, and it was visible to the ends of all the earth. Its leaves were lovely, and its fruit plenty, and in it was food for all. The beasts of the ground made shade under it, and the birds of the heaven dwelt in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. The visions of my head on my bed, I looked and saw a watcher, even a set-apart one, coming down from the heavens. He cried aloud and said this, Hew down the tree and cut off its branches. Strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts flee from under it, and the birds from its branches, but leave the stump of its root on the earth, even with the band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of the heavens, and let his portion be with the beasts of the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's. Let him give the heart of let him be given the heart of a beast, and 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the command by the word of the set apart ones, so that the living know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and gives it to whomever he wishes, and sets over it the lowest of men. This dream have I seen, I, sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, and you, Belshazzar, reveal its interpretation, since all the wise ones of my reign are unable to make known to me the interpretation. But you are able, for the spirit of the set-apart Elohim is in you. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was stunned for the short time, and his thoughts alarmed him. The sovereign responded and said, Belshazzar, do not let the dream or its interpretation alarm you. Belshazzar answered and said, My master, the dream is to those who hate you, and its interpretation to your enemies. The tree you saw, which became great and strong, whose height reached the heavens, was visible to all the earth, whose leaves were lovely and the fruit plenty, and in it was all food, and under with the beasts of the field dwelt, on whose branches the birds of the heaven sat. It is you, O sovereign, for you have become great and strong, and the greatness has grown and has reached to the heavens, and your rulership to the ends of the earth. And as the sovereign saw the watchers, even a set apart one coming down from the heavens. And as the sovereign saw a watcher, even the set apart one coming down from the heavens, and he said, Hew down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump for its root in the earth, even with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field. And let it be wet with the dew of the heavens, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O sovereign, and this is the decree of the Most High. This is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my master, the sovereign, that you are going to be driven away from men, and your dwelling be with the beasts of the field, and you be given grass to eat like oxen, and you be wetted with the dew of the heavens, and 7 times pass over you, till you know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and that he gives it to whomever he wishes. And they that gave the command to leave the stump of its root of the tree, your reign remains yours, from the time you come to know that the heavens are ruling. Therefore, O sovereign, let my counsel be acceptable to you, and break off your sin by righteousness, and let your crookedness, by showing favor to the poor, your prosperity might be extended. Did my phone peter out? Nope, we're still here. Okay. Might be extended. All this came upon sovereign Nebuchadnezzar at the end of the 12 months, and he was walking about the palace. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking about the palace of the reign of Babel. The sovereign spoke and said, Is not this great Babel which I myself have built, for the house of the reign by the might of my power, and for the esteem of my splendor? The word was still in the sovereign's mouth when a voice fell from the heavens. Sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, To you it is spoken, the rain has been taken away from you, and you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be with the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen. The 7 seasons shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and he gives it to whomever he wishes. In that hour the word was executed on Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and he ate grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. And at the end of the days, I Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to the heavens, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and made him great, who lives forever, whose rule is an everlasting rule, and his reign is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are of no account, and he does as he wishes with the host of the heavens and among the inhabitants of the earth. And there is none to strike against his hand, or say to him, what have you done? At the same time my understanding returned to me, and for the preciousness of my reign, my esteem and splendor were returning to me. And my counselors and nobles sought me out, and I was reestablished to my reign, and excellent greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, am praising and exalting and esteeming the sovereign of the heavens, for all his works are truth, and his ways right. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. Chapter 5, Belshazzar the king Belshazzar the sovereign made a great feast for 1,000 of his great men, and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While tasting the wine, Belshazzar gave orders to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the Hekal, which had been in While tasting the wine, Belshazzar gave orders to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the Hekal, which had been in Jerusalem, that the sovereign and his great men, his wives, and his concubines could drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the Hekal of the house of Elah, which had been in Jerusalem, and the sovereign and his great men, his wives and his concubines, drank out of them. They drank wine and praised the Elohim of gold and silver, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone. At that time the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the sovereign's palace. And the sovereign saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the sovereign's color changed, and his thoughts alarmed him, so that the joints of his hips were loosed and his knees knocked against each other. The sovereign called loudly to bring in the astrologers, the Chazdim, the diviners. The sovereign spoke and said to the wise ones of Babel, Whoever reads this writing and shows me its interpretation is robed in purple and has a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. So all the sovereign's wise ones came, but they were unable to read the writing or to make known its interpretation to the sovereign. The sovereign Belshazzar was greatly alarmed, and his color changed, and his great men were puzzled. The sovereigness, because of the words of the sovereign and his great men, came to the banquet hall, and the sovereigness spoke and said, O sovereign, live forever. Do not let your thoughts alarm you, nor let your color change. There is a man in your reign in whom is the spirit of the set-apart Elohim, and in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the Elohim, were found in him. And sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, your father, your father, the sovereign, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Kasdim, and diviners, because an excellent spirit, knowledge, and understanding, interpreting dreams and explaining riddles, and solving difficult problems were found in this Daniel, whom the sovereign named Belshazzar. Now, see, I'll just keep reading. Now let Daniel be called, and let him show the interpretation. Maybe they have the same name. I don't know. Maybe I'm confused. So Daniel was brought in before the sovereign. The sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, "Are you that Daniel, who is one of the sons of the exile from Yehuda, whom my father the sovereign brought from Yehuda? I have heard of you that the spirit of Elohim is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. And the wise ones, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, and that they should read this writing and make known it to me its interpretation. But they were unable to show the interpretation of the word. And I myself have heard of you, that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. Now if you are able to read the writing and make known its interpretation to me, you are to be robed in purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the reign." Then Daniel answered and said before the sovereign, "Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I shall read the writing to the sovereign, and make known the interpretation to him. O sovereign, the most high Allah gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a reign and greatness and preciousness and esteem, and because of the greatness which he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished he killed, and whomever he wished he kept alive, and whomever he wished he raised up, and whomever he wished he made low. But when his heart was lifted up, and his spirit was so strong as to act proudly, he was put down from his throne of reign, and they took his preciousness from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. He was given grass to eat like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till he knew that the Most High Allah is ruler of the heavens of men. Ruler of the reigns of men, and he sets up over it whomever he wishes. And you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. And you have lifted yourself up against the master of the heavens, and they brought before you the vessels of his house. And you and your great men, your wives and your concubines, have been drinking wine from them. And you have praised the Elohim of silver and of gold, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone, which neither see nor hear nor know. But the Allah who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not made great. Then the part of the hand was sent from him, and this writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed: Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of each word, Mene. Elah has numbered your reign and put it to an end. Tekel. You have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. Perez. Your reign has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar gave orders, and they robed Daniel in purple and put a chain of gold around his neck. And they proclaimed concerning him that he is the third ruler in the reign. In that night, Belshazzar, sovereign of the Kasdim, was killed, and Darius of Mede took over the reign, being about 62 years old. Chapter 6. It pleased Darius to appoint over the reign 120 viceroys to be over all the reign, and over them 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, so that these viceroys should give account to them, and the sovereign suffer no loss. Then this Daniel distinguished distinguished himself above the governors and viceroys because an excellent spirit was in him, and the sovereign planned to appoint him over all the reign. Then the governors and viceroys sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the reign, but were unable to find occasion or corruption, because he was steadfast, and no negligence or corruption was found in him. Then these men said, "We shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, unless we find it against him concerning the law of his Elah." Then these governors and viceroys tumultuously gathered before the sovereign, and said this to him: "Sovereign Darius, live forever. All the governors of the reign, the nobles, the viceroys, the counselors, and advisers have consulted together to establish a royal decree and to make a strong interdict that whoever petitions any Elah or man for 30 days, except you, O sovereign, is thrown into the den of lions. Now, O sovereign, establish the interdict and sign the writing, so that it is not to be changed, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not pass away." So sovereign Darius signed the written interdict, and Daniel, when he knew that the writing was signed, went home, and in his upper room, with the windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his Elah, as he had done before. He didn't bow back then, and he's not bowing now to no king. Then these men tumultuously gathered and found Daniel praying and entreating before his Elah. Then they approached the sovereign and spoke concerning the sovereign's interdict. "Have you not signed an interdict that every man who petitions any Elah or man within 30 days, except you, O sovereign, is thrown into the lion's den?" The den of lions. The sovereign answered and said, "The word is certain, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not pass away." Then they answered and said before the sovereign, "Daniel, who is one of the sons of the exile of Yehuda, pays no heed to you, O sovereign, nor for the interdict that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day." Then the sovereign, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men tumultuously gathered before the sovereign, and said to the sovereign, "Know, O sovereign, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians that any interdict or decree with which the sovereign establishes is not to be changed." Then the sovereign gave orders, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the den of lions. But the sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, "Your Elah, whom you serve continually, he himself delivers you." He already knew. And a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the sovereign sealed it up with his own signet and with the signet of his great men, that the situation concerning Daniel might not be changed. And the sovereign went to his palace and spent the night fasting, and no entertainment was brought before him, and his sleep fled from him. Then the sovereign rose up. I think I got it. Then the sovereign rose up very early in the morning and hurried to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he called with a grieved voice to Daniel. What's going to happen, guys? Do you know the story? The sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, "Daniel, servant of the living Elah, has your Elah, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?" Then Daniel said to the sovereign, "O sovereign, live forever. My Elah has sent his messenger and has shut the lion's mouth, and they did not harm me, because I was found innocent before him. And also before you, O sovereign, I have done no harm." Then the sovereign was very glad and gave orders that Daniel be taken up out of the den. And Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no harm was found on him, because he trusted in his Elah. And the sovereign gave orders, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel and they threw them, their children, and their wives into the den of lions. And the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces before they reached the floor of the den. Then sovereign Darius wrote to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwelt in all the earth, "Peace be increased to you. From before me is made a decree that throughout every rule of my reign men are to tremble and fear before the Elah of Daniel. For he is the living Elah and steadfast forever, and his reign is one which is not destroyed, and his rule is unto the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth, for he has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. And this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius, in the reign of Koresh the Persian." Baller. All right. That's going to conclude the reading for today, okay? I know I kind of was like, oh, this video's over, but I probably just spliced these two together because I want to keep it consistent the way it was. We're going to pick up on chapter 7 in tomorrow's video. Bless you all. Thank you for being here. Leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share this video. Help me get it out to more people. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description below. And as always, I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.